Well, again, thank you all very much for joining us on this cold day. It's better to be here listening to what I think will be a very interesting program than out shoveling ice or anything like that. This is being recorded and it will be available on our website later. I'll have information on how to find it. Um, and I did want to, for those of you who joined literally in the last minute or two, I did want to repeat what Barbara Sullivan just reminded us of. If you are a V2V member, you may have seen that there was a call for contributions for California villages, for members of California villages who are facing of the Los Angeles area who have been so devastated by the fires. And Barbara, I think I will maybe ask you to put into the chat information that people could go to if they would like to make a donation. Obviously,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. There are two avenues, Pasadena's and then ours. So happy to do it.
Excellent. Okay, let's go to the agenda. Okay, so as I said, we do indeed have a full day today. You're going to learn a lot about what we did and where we're going. And then we have a very interesting session afterward about a new pilot opportunity from WETA that has ramifications and value well beyond WETA. And we'll look forward to listening to that. And
I didn't bring my
board members.
myself.
Somebody can we mute everybody? We're going to elect our new board members, and we have some wonderful Finishing Strong awards to announce. Next slide, please. So I don't really need to tell you all who we are, but what I think is interesting is that I think it's largely through our conferences, we are getting interest from, and we have actual members from Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Texas. Texas, yes, and we've had people attend from Florida. So while we are regional, why our programs are really attracting a lot of attention, and of course we're open to anyone. Next slide, please. We have actually 64 member villages right now, and we urge you to join. You can see what the benefits are, and renewals are due by the end of this month. You can go to wavevillages.org to the member login. However, I was all set at first to tell you exactly how to do this online and make your payment online, but at least temporarily, you will need to renew by check. And you would write the check to wavevillages.org, and the address is on the bottom of our homepage at wavevillages.org, and that's where the check should be mailed to. Any of you who are the primary contact for your village will be getting a renewal reminder very soon, and it will give you instructions on what to do. And when you do renew, why, we really need your help in updating your own list of those who are your secondary members. You may know that there's quite a number of people who from a village who can be signed up as a secondary member. So I've put down there that if you have any issues or questions with this, which you may well do, just email us at washingtonareavillages@gmail.com, and our wonderful operations manager, Kim Massari, will help you with that. So, and next slide, please. Now, we are very happy that with our Maryland grant that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, we actually have funds to subsidize people to join WAVE, V2V, Maryland and Maryland nonprofits. We can subsidize, we can take applications from any village in Maryland. I mean, we have unlimited memberships for any villages in Maryland who are either in their first or second year or has a budget under $25,000. And the Maryland grant will also fund a certain number of memberships in Village to Village Network at different levels and in Maryland nonprofits at different levels. So again, please email us because it is time for renewal. And if you fit, if you are, as I say, in your first or second year, or have a budget under 25,000, why please mention that and talk and ask us about these subsidies. Next slide, please. Okay, how did we do? And what's coming? Next slide, please. So, well, Our plenary programs were very, very popular. We just almost exactly a year ago, we had one on raising dementia awareness. We had one on arts for aging. Our conference was really, really well received. 95% of the people who came said that it was either excellent or very good. And you'll notice that there's a separate attendance there because we live streamed Dr. Michael McGinnis, who heads the Institute of Medicine, and there were a total of 217 on that live stream, which means there were nearly 40 people outside who were off-site, who were at home, who tuned into that. So that was a very popular program. Next slide, please. We take our educational mission, very, very seriously, and we call these facilitated Zoom sessions mutual support programs because we really know, we understand that villages learn best from other villages. And so that's why these are billed as facilitated discussions, and we want people to bring their problems and the solution to these. And that's what you see some that we past year. We had workshops on grant writing and bookkeeping that were very, very popular. And all told, we reached 440 people with those programs. Next slide, please. We are very, very pleased and proud of our grant from the Maryland Department of Aging. Our program officer, Chelsea Wheeler, has been, she's very smart, she's very responsive, she's very supportive, and she's the head of the Supportive Communities program, and she certainly is a supportive program. So a lot of what we're doing under that grant is just what WETA has always done. You can see the education, but the two new areas of attention are to try and make connections between AAAs, area agencies on aging, and other types of nonprofits and villages. And we want to showcase successful partnerships because AAAs themselves are actively seeking now to join hands with villages in many cases. So that has been an important part of what we're doing. And then we started a program on what we call a data project. And this first phase was just a feasibility study on what is the status of data collection, what's needed. We've worked very closely with Barbara and V2V and with the DC villages to understand, again, what are the foundations currently, what's the spectrum of data collection, what needs to be done, and what are the opportunities for meeting it. And that report, the reviewers are giving very good input to and rating very high, very welcoming of that report. That we hope will be available by the end of January. So next page. Actually, this page and then the very next one, with Maryland funds, our talented helper, Kim, designed a couple of different templates that both can be tailored to your own village and your own message. If you would like to have a flyer that looks something like this, but that maybe has either a different picture or some different words on it, we can do that for you. You would email us at washingtonareavillages.org, and Kim could help you. Next slide, please. This one was for new villages, and the next slide will show you that we also have one for existing village. This one obviously was for Maryland. We've got the Maryland map in outline there, and we've got the parts of the Maryland flag there. But again, all that can be tailored to VA, Virginia, or DC. So just ask. Next slide, please. So this was the product of our first phase data project. It was a very exciting collaboration with MDOA and WAVE and the UMBC Graduate School of Business this past fall. There's an entrepreneurship class, and these master's candidates, they interviewed villages. Some of you are on the call right now to try and understand where they were, what it was going to take, and they created this toolkit, and it has 4 sections. And the first section is, as I say, general data collection principles, which are sort of like foundational guidelines, emphasizing privacy, security, and the importance of consistent practice. They identified a tiered framework, which includes, tier 1 is just basic manual methods of counting anything. Tier 2 is, some digital tools, like maybe just a spreadsheet. The third tier is the use of customer relationship things that actually go more and can accommodate scheduling and things like that. And then the fourth tier is using dedicated specialized software that's out there. And so then they also have a chapter on data security and another one on monitoring and evaluation. And this we hope to be able to share with you next month. So stay tuned for that too. And I'll have some comments about that when I talk about the coming year. Next slide, please. So next year, what is coming? Well, we've really listened to you. You may know that we've done a year-end survey. We did a survey after the conference, and we got your feedback on what kinds of programs were most interested to you. So those are going to shape our educational sessions. In addition, the winners of both of our award programs, the Finishing Strong Awards that we'll hear about momentarily, and then next year, and then this year's Founders Award, and I'll tell you about that upcoming opportunity in a moment. They give presentations so you can see how they are doing what they proposed. We will again have the workshops on grant writing and bookkeeping, and we'll have another conference on Tuesday, October 14th in the same place, same time, different day, same day of the week, different date in Silver Springs Civic Center. And we'll be putting out details about that soon. And again, the Founders Award application will be opening soon, and I'll have more details about that. Okay, next slide.
Mary Jo, there's a hand up. Morgan Gopnik has her hand up.
Morgan, yes, I'm sorry.
It was about the slide about data. I was just wondering, to what extent are we coordinating with the nationwide, the V2V data efforts?
Absolutely. Bill Kincaid and Carol Paquette, Carol Paquette initiated that project. And, when she was at V2V, and Bill Kincaid is the current president. They're both on my advisory committee. They've both been involved in every step of the way. Barbara received the copy, and Denise Snyder was very, very critical in its development. In fact, she was very critical to the UMBC program. So, in fact, when I introduce our new board members, and I'm not going to spill the beans quite yet, I'm going to emphasize again that the board reflects our absolute commitment to working with other organizations. WAVE is not a siloed organization at all, especially on data. And again, I'll talk about that in a minute, and you'll hear me sort of reinforce that theme. Okay, next slide. There are a few special things for Maryland villages. Again, we will be repeating programs to promote partnerships with local AAAs, and Maryland villages will have the opportunity to participate in the pilot report, our phase 2 of the data project to try and strengthen data collection activities. And it may be possible for non-Maryland villages to participate in that pilot. I don't know yet, but stay tuned there too. Next slide. Because this is, and now I'll give you some more details about the data process. So you can see that basically is to develop an actual proof of concept system for MDOA, for Chelsea. And she has a variety of different grants. Some of you may have grants from her under 2 of her different programs, and I think she has even more than 2, and the reporting requirements are different, and she would like very much to move toward a slightly more common, not absolutely standardized, but more common, more shared data reporting program. And so we'll be working on a proof of concept for that. And again, this is, we really want to, collect uniform data from villages and other entities, because Chelsea also funds things like Meals on Wheels programs or transportation programs that are doing things that do help people age, but they're just more specialized. And so she would like to be able to collect more uniform data across those. And it will definitely be a framework for the future. by any village, that can be used by any village anywhere, we hope. And we hope that the data, the intention is that the data that is collected will be of use to the villages themselves for their own operations, but also for people like WAVE and V2V to look at aggregated numbers, and also for funders, who want to see what villages are doing. And again, I can't emphasize strongly enough that while this does focus on Maryland, this is just one small step in what we understand is a long-term process. And this step should lead to steps that are relevant for other states and regions. Next slide. And so we do have a follow-up with UMBC again. And we know that the toolkit as is in some ways, it's a wonderful toolkit, but again, it was just produced. We need to sort of like pilot test it and get additional feedback to make sure it's good. So the new graduate students are going to be using the toolkit as a foundation, and they'll be, identifying to what extent it is and is not useful, and come up with some various ways of training people, whether it's webinars, whether it's in person, whether there needs to be some mentors, a buddy system, personal training and support. So they will come up with some suggestions on that. And this will dovetail with the data project itself that I just mentioned to you. So, and again, I really want to say that certainly Maryland, Chelsea, and I fully understand that this is a long-term effort. We know that villages have very limited resources and capacity to do this, and they very rightfully prioritize their energy and attention on their core mission, which is neighbors helping neighbors. And so Chelsea is really quite strong in saying that what she wants to create is a system that is minimally burdensome for the villages themselves, that doesn't make it a handicap, and that doesn't present an opportunity cost, a diversion, from what villages need to do. So that's the goals. But again, we know that this is many steps to go. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is just to tell you that this will be our 3rd annual Founders Award. And again, you see the page there. You can find winners from the past. Their programs are on that website. And we're going to open the applications in February, and the winners will be announced in May. And this is named after the 3 founders of WAVE, and it recognizes villages for outstanding programs that they have completed. One of the differences between the Finishing Strong program and the Founders Award is the Finishing Strong program that we'll talk about in a minute is for proposals to do a program. The Founders Award is to reward and recognize programs that have been completed or at least are underway, that this is not a startup. So again, these awards will open in a little bit. So again, stay tuned here. Next slide here, please. Okay, we need you. Again, we all know that villages learn the most from other villagers. New village leaders need seasoned village leaders. And so we really welcome all of you to consider becoming a mentor, because no matter where you're at in your village, you have already, I suspect just because you're here, you already have experience to share, or someone in your village who has experience to share. So we really hope that you will sign up for mentoring. Committees, you don't need to be a board member. We've got some very exciting projects underway. And we do hope to be able to add additional staff later in the year to take some of the burden off our wonderful operations manager, Kim, who I will keep mentioning as we go on, because we really appreciate her. So please just email us if you have any interest in becoming a part of any of these efforts. We like to tailor them to your level of availability, but we're sure that you have something to offer. Okay, next slide, please. So now we're going to have our board elections, and I'm going to turn it over to Leila Riazi, who is the co-founder and current president of Cheverly Village, and she happens to be the chair of our WAVE Governance Committee. Leila?
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mary Jo. We are very excited over what's happened in this past year and what the next year will hold for us. So first, if we could start, Kim, if you could please advance. So first, we need to give a big thank you and invite all of you to applaud in your own way here in Zoom for our members who have completed their final terms of service with the WAVE board. We have Mary Jo Deering, Seal Garrett, and David Prescott. It's very difficult to imagine meetings without them, without their contributions to the organization. And we do hope, just as everyone can continue to stay involved in WAVE, whether or not you serve on the board and with different teams, that we do see them. And we know that we're going to be seeing them in various roles continuing with WAVE. So thank you very much for your service. And we look forward to what's to follow. And Kim, next. Now, we do have members who are continuing on current terms, including myself. And you can see here, Jim Sanders and Marianne Long are joining me as current terms, so not up for re-election or reconsideration at this point. Kim? And now we have members who have been nominated for new terms. It's important for us to say we don't just continue forever, and we don't continue without consideration. Our current board president has sat down with everyone to talk with them about their interest in continuing, what they see as their contributions in the next year, and what they see as their driving interests in supporting and expanding WAVE. And here we see that up for nomination for new terms, we have Ava, Leo, Doug, Elizabeth, and Wendy. And so first, what I would like to say is if there is a motion in the room to accept these nominations.
I move.
Thank you. And if there is a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. And with that, if we could show by affirmation our support for these members being selected for new terms. All those in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful. Thank you. And time being tight, I will encourage us to all make a point to check out bios, which we will have on our website, of each of the for new terms and continuing members. But today I'd like to take a moment to review our new incoming for the first time members of our board. Kim? So we are incredibly fortunate to have these three women stepping forward to serve. They applied and were reviewed, and they have already made contributions to WAVE in numerous ways. And what I would like to do now is I would like to introduce each of them. I'll give you one of those brief professional bios where we can, because often we don't know something about our professional lives or lives outside of our village world. And then I'm going to ask each of them to talk briefly more about what brought them into the village movement, what brought them into consideration of joining WAVE and the work ahead. So first, I would like to introduce Morgan Gopnik, and you can see that she is with Northwest Neighbors. And Morgan holds a PhD in Marine Sciences and Conservation from Duke University, a master's degree in Environmental Engineering from Caltech, and a Bachelor of Science in Physical Geography from McGill University. She wants everyone to know that the work that she has done is in the past. So she doesn't know the latest article on ocean science that you may have read. She's worked for 25 years as an expert in environmental science with a particular focus on ocean policy. She served in many roles as a director of Ocean Studies Board at the National Academy of Sciences, a senior advisor to the U.S. Commission on Ocean Policy, and senior vice president for programs at the Ocean Conservancy. Her new world began when she retired in 2016, and as she'll share in more detail, this is when she was drawn into the Village movement. And she's served as an active volunteer and board member, as you see at Northwest Neighbors. And she's been instrumental in forming, and we'll talk more briefly more about the DC Villages Collaborative, with its mission to strengthen existing villages and help create new villages in underserved communities. And Morgan, if you would like to share a little bit about your connection with villages, how it's grown.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I always kind of smile when I hear my old bio. It's like it's a different person back then. So I spent my life doing science and writing reports. I must have written 100 reports with recommendations on all the things the government should be doing differently. And 90% of them were never followed, maybe 95%. So when I retired, I just wanted to do something more direct, more local. And a neighbor of mine said, oh, well, you know, why don't you volunteer for Northwest Neighbors Village? And I started just mostly driving people to appointments and to shopping. And it was so immediately, directly satisfying compared to all the very abstract things I'd spent my life doing. And I enjoyed meeting all these people. And in my neighborhood, at least, they all have amazing stories that, you know, these people have worked their whole careers in DC and are now, as we know, invisible older people. And they had amazing stories to tell of their lives. So anyway, I had a great time doing that. And after a few years just volunteering, I got dragged into the administrative side of the whole thing and joined the board of Northwest Neighbors Village, and then became president of the board, and then felt, you know, there are 13 villages across DC, and along with some other people, just felt we need to be doing a better job coordinating the 13 villages across DC, and also finding ways to create new villages in the really underserved areas of DC. Most of the current villages are in relatively wealthy and relatively white neighborhoods, with one exception. So, you know, why are we not reaching out to other neighborhoods to try to help them get villages started? And as we all know, there are barriers to that. There's money, there's access, there's time, there's all kinds of things. But so we formed, just a year ago, the DC Villages Collaborative. We raised some grant money, hired an executive director, Dr. Kat Polk, to coordinate the existing villages, find ways to strengthen them, find new sources of money, and find ways to create new villages in other neighborhoods around DC.
Oh.
And so I've been chair of the council of that collaborative effort.
And
my husband often chides me when he sees me sitting at the computer all day. Yeah, I thought you were retired, but it really looks like you have a full-time job.
Beautiful. Thank you, Morgan. And we really welcome your nomination for the WAVE board for 2025. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Arkia Wade. Arkia. And Arkia's background, she has a BA in marketing and sociology from the College of William and Mary. And through her work with Aetna for the past 23 years, she brings some valuable experience across the span of healthcare and what contributes to what works and what fails in corporations and organizations. Over her years in the healthcare industry, she witnessed the increased struggle for affordable, responsive access to quality care, and her insight into navigating the insurance world is a help to those facing such challenges. In her next world, as executive director and founder of Neighborhood Companions, Arkia's work has always been tied to her community and rooted in the legacy of service inspired by her grandfather, who served as a physician in her community of Turner Station. In her role with Neighborhood Companions, she created a village before she knew of the movement, focusing on creating a village from the ground up, building a network of volunteers and community-driven services tailored to meet the diverse needs of her community. And Arkia, if you would please expand briefly on what it's meant for you to be to create a village, and how you see your work continuing with the board of directors.
And thank you, Layla, for such a great introduction. I was like, who is that person? So I really stumbled into the older adult work. As Layla mentioned, I am rooted in the Turner Station community. It's a community right outside of in Baltimore County. It at one point was the largest African American community in Baltimore County. And so I really, I'm also a Girl Scout troop leader in Turner Station. And so I've been doing that for a little over 10 years. And I always had intergenerational programming with Girl Scouts. Some of my volunteers that I currently have are in their 80s and late 70s. And so I just always, with my scouts, always had the older adults participate with us. And then when the pandemic hit, I noticed that a lot of our older adults were not getting out. They weren't going to, we have a senior center in Turner Station, and they weren't going there, and they were just afraid. And so myself and one of my sorority sisters and the director of our senior center just got together and decided to do an ad hoc adopt a senior program where we got volunteers to just call seniors at least once a month to check on them during the pandemic. And so I adopted 2 seniors in the process. And I say one particular senior helped change the trajectory of my life, because I witnessed how she had such a hard time navigating the system to get to the doctor's office. And, one day she called me in desperation because she had canceled her doctor's appointment 3 times. And I felt so bad that I ended up taking her to the doctor. And just that one experience just really had me look into, other people that were having issues of getting around. And I saw the direct effects of the Adopt a Senior program with, seniors having that connection with someone. And instead of me just, kind of brushing it off, I decided to do something about it. Our community has a long history of being neglected, just due to a lot of environmental justice issues and other things that have come up in Turner Station. And so I just decided to quit my job almost 2 years ago to start what I didn't even know was a village in Turner Station. And it's been one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my life. And just to see the benefits of our older adults and what they're receiving from the services that we're providing is just, I can't say enough about it. And so,
Thank you.
you know, that's about it.
Thank you. And thank you for, agreeing to serve on our board. And I would like to offer Arkia Wade as one of our nominees for the board of directors. And moving to Carol Paquette. And Carol, just as with the previous 2 women, has an extraordinary background. For much of her working life, she focused on doing business process analysis to define requirements for custom information systems and managing the implementation of those systems. She says she's had the good fortune to begin her career with the information technology industry was just starting to take off. So she's often been on the cutting edge of technology development. And she lists several projects that blew my mind. The first version of the EDGAR system for the Securities and Exchange Commission, an emergency response plan, filing and reviewing systems for the Department of Transportation Office of Pipeline Safety, clinical trials for major pharmaceutical company, internet voting system pilots, and classified projects for the Department of Defense and White House. She's also co-founder and was first president of the Arlington Neighborhood Village in Arlington, Virginia, a former board member and past president of the Village to Village Network, and she serves as the convener of the Virginia Villages Collective, which is an informal group collaboration of 18 villages. Carol, if you would please tell us a little bit more about how you got drawn into villages and your idea of serving on the board.
Well, I got interested in villages as I was, I think maybe in my second retirement phase. You know, it's when you've had work that you really enjoy in your life, it's hard to change gears and all of a sudden, you know, not be doing anything. So, you know, I did my year or two of travel and reading and all that kind of thing. And I said, well, okay, I need to do something a little more active. And the opportunity to get involved in starting a village in Arlington came up, and I had a lot of experience with starting up project groups and starting up organizations. So it seemed like kind of a natural thing to do. And, you know, one thing led to another. And I guess here we are, what is it now? 12 or 13 years later. And I'm still pretty much heavily involved in villages now, coordinating an effort in the state of Virginia to get funding and more recognition for villages in Virginia. And very happy to have a memorandum of understanding between Virginia Villages Collaborative and WAVE, so that we have been working very closely together. And I'm looking forward to, you know, WAVE is such a fantastic organization. I'm really looking forward to being more involved in WAVE activities and see where we can take it in the future.
Beautiful. And with that, I would like to offer for your consideration the nominees for the three nominees for our 2025 Board of Directors, Morgan Gopnik, Arkia Wade, and Carol Paquette. And if I could please have a motion to accept these nominees.
I move to accept. I'm sorry,
I'm gonna
Wendy.
take Barbara's role this time. I'm moving to accept.
Thank
All
you.
right, I'll second it.
Thank you. And all those in favor, if you could please express your approval. Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
And with that, by affirmation, I welcome the three of you to join us for the 2025 Board of Directors. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kim, next slide. So I mentioned earlier, and you can see that the new WAVE board reflects profoundly WAVE's absolute commitment to collaboration with all areas, all types of organizations. And I do hope that you listen carefully to some of their stories. And I'll stick with Carol's right now because she was the most recent. I'd bet my next child, which I do often at my age, because I can be sure of winning, that there are those of you out there who have had your first retirement. I don't call it retirement, I call it a transition. Unfortunately, that word has come to often mean you're dying or you're changing your gender. But anyway, I don't like, so anyway, I would bet that there are many, at least some of you out there who are beginning to get a little bit antsy in your non-work situation. You can see the types of people who come, hey, we've got real things to do. You can use whatever your experience is, you can use it with WAVE. And it just so happens, we still have one opening for the District of Columbia and one opening for Virginia. And we have all those committees. So if you would like to just learn a little bit more about how easy it is to slip into WAVE and how gratifying it is to work with us, please, you can email me, president@wavevillages.org or WashingtonAreaVillages@gmail.com. Either of those. WAVE needs you, and we know you're out there. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, the Finishing Strong Awards. Next slide, please. So these were created and most generously funded by Chris Palmer and his friend Gail. And I suspect that, as I said at the very, very beginning, before we even opened, when some of you were already joined, that, you know, most of you have probably heard Chris speak because he has so generously shared his, not only his passion and his money, but his wide experience and really good knowledge of the various steps that are involved. So Chris, would you wave your hand? Where are you, Chris? You need to speak up or wave your hand. We can't see you. Did we lose Chris? Well, he may have been pulled away, but again, I'm.
Yes,
He's
on,
here,
and he
Mary.
waved
He's
his hand.
here.
Oh, he's
Looks like he's
waving.
here.
Hey, are you waving your hand, Chris? Say hi.
I am. Yes, here I am.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Okay, now, drum roll, please. And next slide. Da 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 da. So we have good, strong winning proposals. And remember, I said that the finishing strong applications are proposals for work to be done. You can build on something you've already done, but what you're asking for funding for is to do something new, whether it's building upon or building new. And I will, and Cheverly Village, DuPont Circle Village, and Waterfront Village are our winners this year. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to introduce the leaders, or at least the leaders of the projects from each of these villages, and they will say a few words. Please speak up if you have some slides, and if you don't need us to let you share your screen. Okay, so the first one I will introduce Renata Reimschursel, who's the Vice President of Cheverly Village, to tell us about their project. Renata?
Yes, thank you. And I will share my screen. Let's see.
Have we given there?
Oh, I think, oops, here we go. All righty. And there it goes. Can you see it?
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, excellent. Well, first of all, thank you very much. One thing that I'd like to mention is I'm presenting this, but our Peace of Mind initiative, Navigating Life to the End, is a team effort. We have a group of members and volunteers that have been working on this project, and ours is one that we have built on. In 2023 through 2024, we started, and we were really happy to have Chris Palmer give us a wonderful presentation in person for our kickoff meeting. We had multiple different conversations. We tried to do them about once a month. We had downsizing, talking about death, encouraging people to have these important conversations. And then specifics, appointing healthcare agents, writing your advance directive, adding dementia provisions to those directives, personal comfort. We had a potluck in June, and we did that in conjunction with a file of life, which is actually planning for potential emergencies. And then we had a session for one-on-one guidance in developing your advance directives, and that was in September. And the conclusions and member comments that we had was, we got a lot of positive comments from people who came. Best attended meetings were those where we had refreshments or a real meal. The attendees also suggested meeting at a local restaurant for some discussions. And some said, let's just meet to have fun. So those were the main comments. So we took those comments forward and planned this year, and that's where we asked for funding from WAVE. And we decided we would try to use a book, a discussion guide, to provide to our members to help us plan. And it's the Complete Elder Care Planner. And that's one big item that needed funds. We also already have had a talk about hospice and palliative care for our members. And we're going to be expanding that in February to the entire Cheverly community. And we're trying to include younger families, so because they're the ones who actually are often impacted by these decisions and discussions. We have not yet made the exact dates for these next things, but these are on the agenda. Writing a memoir, executors, what you need to know, a potluck and a conversation about finishing strong. And then also we want feedback and ideas for brainstorming. And we're hoping to pull in Chris for one of these meetings as well. All events will have refreshments. And again, that's one of the things that's going to use up some of the pot of money. We plan to have one session at a restaurant. We'll have one potluck. We're planning to give out,
but I don't, it's fine.
we're planning to give out some door prizes to provide additional incentives to attend in-person events. And again, that's where we're going to spend a little bit of money. And as we do with many of our projects, we want to seek input from our members and the folks that have come to these, but also prospectively, what else would people want? So big thank you to WAVE and to Chris and everybody involved in providing the funding for this thing. And we're proud to be a partner of WAVE. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to call on Ava Lucero, who's the executive director of DuPont Circle Village, to talk a little bit about their proposal. Ava, are you ready?
I am. Thanks, Mary Jo. First, I'd like to just express my thanks to Chris Palmer and Gail Shear and the entire committee behind the Finishing Strong Awards. Addressing end-of-life issue programming is incredibly important, and I'm deeply grateful that there is an award that recognizes and celebrates these efforts. So on behalf of DuPont Circle Village, we are truly honored and delighted to have been chosen one of the recipients. So a little background, I don't have any slides because I can just explain it because it's pretty extensive. So our program was created through the dedication of 4 thoughtful villagers who spent over a year meeting regularly, exchanging ideas, reading books, and attending similar events and listening to speakers. Their hard work and collaboration culminated in the development of this program. So it's titled Preparing for the Inevitable, Plans and Choices for the End of Life. It's a 6-session initiative. It's designed to empower individuals in making informed decisions about the end of life while helping them prepare for the final stages. And for many, in the process of contemplating and addressing end-of-life concerns can be daunting and filled with uncertainty. And so some of the critical questions that individuals face include things like, what are the key issues that I should be even considering? How should these issues be approached? Where and how do we begin the conversation on the planning process? So our program offers a comprehensive and supportive approach that allows the participants to tackle the end-of-life planning with intention and care. It aligns seamlessly with DCV's mission to connect our members with essential healthcare information, services, and support. I know there's not much time during my session, my 3 minutes, to discuss each session in detail, but I can put my information in the chat if you like, and I can email you a synopsis of each of the sessions. But for now, I just want to read the working titles that each session is offering. So session 1 is starting with getting your life in order. Session 2 is defining a life worth living in its last chapter. Session 3 is planning to ensure a good death for you. Session 4 is awareness of and planning for physical and/or cognitive decline. Session 5 is end-of-life options, which can be very difficult to discuss. And I know the team that helped us put this program together had a lot to say about this particular session. Session 6 is options for celebrating lives well lived and for what to do with the body. We envision various formats, including Zoom, including in person, small groups. We have a slate of speakers we'll be drawing from and resources. And so just stay tuned. We will be advertising it in our newsletter and on our website. And again, I'll put my information in the chat if you want a synopsis of each of the sessions. So again, thank you, and we look forward to producing this program.
All right, and Pam Troutman is the Executive Director for Waterfront Village. Pam, are you there?
I am. Good morning, everyone. I too just want to extend a huge thanks from Waterfront Village and our members and our board, to Chris, to Gail, to Wave for their continued support for our efforts. And it's so great to hear from Chevrolet, from DuPont Circle. We're all like working in the same space, I think, to really support autonomy and support people writing this chapter of their lives in a way that really reflects who they are. And that's just something that I think is so important and so really exciting. So I'm really pleased to be a part of this. And Waterfront Village has been offering a program coming this year. Will be on our, I guess, fourth and fifth cycle of a class, of a program to help people navigate this chapter of life and make plans for this. And our little tagline at Waterfront Village is navigating together. And I think it really speaks to all of this because it is a lot to navigate. So we too received this funding for a series of classes or workshops. And we have established a regular cycle now of programs where every February we offer our 5-session course via Zoom, and every October we offer an in-person version of the class. And what's been so exciting is to see people cycle back through the class because these issues are so complicated. Sometimes one pass is just not enough. So we've also done a lot of tinkering with the content based on like feedback from people who have participated in the class. And I think one of the big things that we're really focused on is not just sharing information and resources and having conversation, but we've actually structured a workbook that is very action oriented. A lot of the workbook is actually in the form of a checklist because many of our village members know sort of what to do, or they have some pretty good ideas, but actually doing it is, as we all know, there can be a gap between knowledge and action. So I think that our program really focuses on trying to close some of that gap and helping people think through concrete steps that they can take. And I'll share briefly the 5 sessions that we have as part of this. We start off with a sort of a taking stock session where we do a lot of reflection about our own resources and resources around us for this time of life. Our second session, we used to talk about just a section or a class on relocation, but now we've reframed this class to be called Living Light and Ready to Pivot, so that you're sort of ready for a move, but also ready to bring in care. So sort of getting life in order. Our third class is on staying at home, sort of a traditional aging in place class. But as part of that class, everybody's provided with a workbook on resources and supports that are specifically available in Southwest DC, because not everything's available to everybody wherever they live. So we've cultivated a good list of resources. Our fourth session is focused sort of very much on end of life, but not at all end of life things. And it's a session that is new and it's focused on emergency preparedness because there are so many gaps and so many hard things that happen to people when they don't have hospital to go bags and, when they don't have emergency response buttons, when they have multiple health risk point. So we're really working on that. And frankly, just in the last 3 months, we've lost 2 village members who were alone at home and perhaps in some distress at the end of their lives. And that sort of just continues to keep the fire lit under all of us at Waterfront to make sure that people don't have to go through those kinds of things. And our last session is focused on end of life documents, but also resources for having hard conversations. And that's been a really rich class as well. So I could go on for some time because I really care about this. And I just think it's such a way to honor people. So thank you for helping us carry on this work at Waterfront Village.
Well, thank you. And everybody join me for congratulating all of our winners. And I do want to let people know that these winning proposals and others from past years, they are available on our website, wavevillages.org/Finishing Strong Award. Or you can look under Wave Programs and you'll see Finishing Strong. So they are there for you. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to turn it over to Wendy Zanker, who is a member of our board, the executive director of Arlington Neighborhood Village, to tell you about this new exciting opportunity from WETA and its broader ramifications for all of you. Take it away, Wendy.
Thanks so much, Mary Jo. And I'm going to be brief on my introduction because I really want to turn it over to the WETA people as quickly as possible. So WETA first approached Arlington Neighborhood Village, and then I looped in Seal from Alexandria to talk about a great opportunity. WETA has the chance to give Roku devices that would stream WETA programming into members' homes to our villages free of charge. And when I say our villages, I'm talking about our village members free of charge. This seems like a great member benefit program that we want to talk about. And where we are right now is that Seal and I at Arlington and Alexandria are going to pilot this program on behalf of the regional villages. And based on how it works for us, and I'm going to say success, then we want to be able to present it to all of the regional villages as something that they can offer to their members. So Jeff and Brandon are going to explain what Roku devices are. They're going to explain what streaming is. They're going to go into a lot more detail about this little teaser that I've just offered you. But let me, in a minute, turn it over to them. There's Jeff Regan. Jeff is Vice President of Membership Marketing and Development Services at WETA. Brandon Hemmel is the Senior Director, Data Strategy and Development Services. And I'm really going to turn it to them because they're going to do such a better job of talking about what this phenomenal opportunity is for all of our villages. Jeff, Brandon?
Thank you, Wendy. We're really honored to be here with you all today, listening to what WAVE is doing and what each of your villages are doing is inspiring. It's also personal for Brandon and me. We both have parents who, we've been dealing with these issues actually together and discussing them for a number of years with parents aging, and we each lost a parent in the last year and a bit, and so certainly are familiar with the some of the joys and opportunities and challenges involved in aging, and it's just wonderful to see what you are all are doing for the residents of your communities. So, I mean, honestly, a big round of applause for you, and thank you for helping our seniors age with dignity in their homes. So thank you. Why don't we dive in? And as one other thing to add to what Wendy said, and we've really enjoyed meeting with Wendy and Seal. Brandon and I, we play various roles, and one of the big roles we play is outreach and forming partnerships with community organizations like you all. And I think we were already excited to partner with Arlington Neighborhood Village and At Home in Alexandria. And after listening to the last hour, it's inspiring to see what you all are achieving, and we would be excited to partner with all of you, or at least all of you within the greater DC area. One thing I should say up front is that we sort of run from kind of the Shenandoahs to like Talbot County, on the Eastern Shore and south to like Fredericksburg and north to Anne Arundel and Fauquier counties. That's sort of our remit. It's generally our broadcast area. And so we would serve villages in the area, in the sort of greater DC area. So that, why don't we dig in, and feel free to interrupt with questions. We were a little tight on timing, but I also just want to make sure that we're being clear, and so feel free to interrupt. We share a common goal with WAVE and each of your villages, and that's to improve the lives of our seniors. Frankly, our remit is to improve the lives of everyone in our DC area community. A part of that, a big part of our audience, and people who are passionate about what we do and we're passionate about supporting them is our seniors. And we would like to provide universal, on-demand access to all of our great WETA and PBS, and also, as it turns out, even more quality shows. We know that the power, we hear this from feedback from seniors and others every day. Our programs, they increase stimulation. We want to see increased autonomy, and we want to support community engagement by older adults in our region. So it's kind of at a high level, this is what it looks like, and then we'll dig into some more details. The first is piloting a program with ANV and AHA to provide their members with free WETA Plus. We're calling it WETA Plus, which is our new streaming service, personalized to the user. So if you think of, you all know Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and Hulu, whether you use them or not, I'm sure you've heard of them. And many of you may know of the PBS app and WETA Passport. This is our new service to better service, easier to use, better serve our community. The second is to provide user-friendly Roku streaming stick 4Ks for free with WETA Plus pre-installed for anyone who needs it, and then to provide friendly customer support without a giant phone tree to anyone who needs help, where our simple instructions and FAQs aren't enough. We want to provide them with support. So that's kind of the basic high-level pilot. We see this as a way to offer new member benefits and attract more members for ANV and AHA, and potentially for all the WAVE villages. We love what you're doing. We want to support what you're doing. We want to help you attract more members and improve the lives of more of our older adults so they can age in their homes. We also, we have a really strong brand. We're very pleased by that at this time where trust in media is falling. We're number one in public trust among media organizations, and that's something we want to further. And we see this as a way to hopefully support you all in what you do. And also, we love partnering with local community organizations, and that's part of our brand too. So we would love to support that. And obviously, if the pilot's successful, we would extend this to other WAVE villages, and as it turns out, to other communities across the US. So there's a bunch of other stations PBS stations across the US who are doing this same sort of program that we're doing. Next slide, please. Brandon?
Sure. So, what brought us to this point of looking at how to partner with organizations, and also looking at building our own streaming service as opposed to what PBS offers. So I'm going to just run through a couple quick sets of numbers to give background. We can go into the next slide. Average time spent, this is overall, of course, ages 18 plus, time spent with digital video versus traditional television. As you can see in the red, those numbers continue to grow. in black, that number continues to go down, and many of people are now, moving ahead with streaming services, connected devices, connected televisions, and we have all seen broadcast viewership shrink, whether it's via cable or over the air or other services. If we could look at the next slide. This is specifically for WETA. We are seeing audience impressions. So this is an average impression on a daily basis. We see that coming down. So what we want to do is to make sure that people who used to watch WETA, and if they have done the cord cutting thing, are still able to watch the fantastic programs that WETA and PBS provide. Many people, when they cut the cord, they may go to antenna or they may go to streaming services. And we do know that sometimes antenna service is a bit difficult in the area. So that's why we've looked to using an app-based service along with broadcast either over the air or via cable system or other variations in order to continue to serve people who watch and trust PBS and WETA programming. Let's move ahead, please.
So we've done a bunch of research, and these, if you were to virtually raise your hand, so to speak, if any of these resonate, but we've done a lot of research into the barriers to streaming on the PBS app. And if you're not familiar, the PBS app and Passport on the PBS app, PBS or WET Passport on the PBS app, that's the current streaming service offered by PBS nationally. And 10 stations around the country, including WETA, with PBS's full knowledge and support, are offering a new streaming service, which, if it's successful, I expect will be expanded to serve to every community. And it's based on a lot of research we've done around some of the challenges, and in particular, common streaming challenges for seniors. So things that we see are, a lack of comfort and fear associated with, with something new, with streaming, with watching programs on demand, hardware challenges, difficulty finding hardware, meaning a streaming device that's easy to install and easy to use, challenges with specific streaming services and the user experience and finding the content that they want. We also get stories of people who call in who say, things like, my daughter canceled my cable subscription, but only taught me how to use Netflix. And so I don't know how to watch WETA anymore. And they're really sad about that. There's also a lack of awareness of where to find high quality shows. And so much of what's now on TV, and even more so now in the streaming world, is kind of becoming lowest common denominator. There's also just a big challenge of habit, and people need something compelling to sort of break current habits or add to current habits, and to take the jump and start streaming with a new service that they don't know about or don't know how to use. Any of those sound familiar? Great. So we face the same challenges with the PBS app and Passport, but even more so. Whereas everyone has heard of Netflix, not everyone has heard of the PBS app. A lot of people, I talk to neighbors all the time who they're like, oh, there's a PBS app. A lot of people don't like the app name. When they hear PBS app, they think this is something for their phone. As it turns out, the PBS app is for your TV, as well as your phone or your tablet or your computer or anywhere. But first and foremost, it's for your TV. There's also, in particular, it was built quite a while ago and was not built with sort of local communities in mind. So it's not localized to specific communities and programmed to specific communities. And there's also, people have some real trouble within it finding the shows that they want to watch. So what we want to do, we want to increase the mental, physical, improve the mental, physical, and emotional health of our seniors, of our older adults, and to give them confidence that they can stream, that they can watch the shows whenever they want, to give them intellectually stimulating shows, and to help support their engagement with our local community. And if you all don't know, we have a lot of really great local shows too, for those who haven't watched. We could talk about that another time, but we have some really just great local shows and community events and community engagement. So our goal is to make the shows and the movies easy to find and to foster that engagement. Next slide, please. So here's kind of digging into the partnership opportunities. Next slide, please. What is this WETA Plus? So WETA is launching WETA Plus along with 9 other stations around the country who are launching the equivalent thing in their community. It's actually all the same backend, meaning it's all the same streaming platform, but we're each localizing it to our own audience. So our goal is to provide universal on-demand access to WETA and PBS programs, especially for for seniors and other tech challenged communities, and to make it easy for everyone to find the shows and watch the shows they want when they want them. WETA Plus is a user-friendly, localized streaming service, and on all the major streaming platforms. So Roku devices, Apple TV devices, Fire TV devices, smart TVs, mobile, phone, tablet, web, etc. And what we're providing is all of our shows on demand, and also you can watch all of our channels, including WETA UK. If there's any WETA UK fans, there's some people in the area who can't even access WETA UK due to limitations around some of the providers, the cable providers in the area. And you can watch all our channels live and a bunch of other channels too. So we want to provide more high quality shows. We're actually building content partnerships, more high quality local and national shows and videos that everyone can watch easily. You may have heard about something called Passport, WETA Passport or PBS Passport. So within WETA or WETA Plus is free, and recent shows and all the news and public affairs and a host of other shows can always be watched. Most of our local shows can always be watched for free at any time. And then to access a really deep library of PBS shows, international dramas, to get early access to watch hot dramas like the new season of All Creatures Great and Small, watching all the episodes the night of the premiere of the first episode. All of that you can access, people can access with a donation of just $5 a month, which for those who know about streaming services, this is a much lower price than most of the streaming services out there like Netflix. With a donation of $5 a month, your members can access Passport. And if they're already WETA members, they'll already have access. They don't need to make another donation. And if not, they can. And if they don't want to, that's totally fine. We actually have 2 versions of WETA Plus. We have a version for members and a version for non-members. And we showed Wendy and Seal. And for non-members, we're going to have lots of videos near the top where people don't need to be members. And that's all totally fine. And we've done soft launch, but we're going to start major promotion, in the coming few months. Next slide, please. So how do we want to support our older adults? We have 3 elements to this. We have WETA Plus, which is local and designed for our audience, and it's also a content hub. And as I mentioned, we're forming content partnerships to bring more great quality programming into it. We're providing a free Roku streaming stick 4K. This is one of the best devices out there for seniors. The remote controls the TV and volume, so you don't need another remote. You can just turn the TV on and off and control the volume with the Roku streaming stick with the remote. It has voice control for those who want it. You can point anywhere, which means you don't have to point directly at the screen. It's really easy to install. There's no like additional box or anything. It just sort of plugs into the TV. And on top of that, WETA Plus will already come pre-installed. And this is part of a pilot with Roku. We do need to make sure as part of this pilot that the Rokus that we give out are used. That's part of the deal. And if this is successful, then we'll get, many, many more Rokus for WETA and our audience, and also for other stations around the country. So we do need to make sure that the people we're not handing out Rokus on a street corner for free. This is for people who actually want to use the Rokus to watch WETA Plus, and of course they're welcome to use it to watch Netflix and anything else they want to. But it is explicitly for people who are interested in watching WETA Plus along with other things. And then we're going to provide personalized, friendly customer support. So not only we'll have like along with every Roku, we'll have a easy to install instructions to walk people through it, but we're going to have a tech support number where people can call in and we'll help them. And then if people still need help, they need help moving their TV to plug in the little dongle into the back, which is often where it is, or something else. ANV and AHA are going to send out tech volunteers to help. And it's pretty easy, and I think tech volunteers will not have a problem doing that. But it's not easy necessarily for, like my mom would have trouble moving the TV for her TV, for example. Next slide, please. So, and I think we're actually doing okay on time, better than I feared. So this is kind of the discussion slide. So, why are we proposing to partner, and why did we discuss a pilot partnership and agree on a pilot partnership with AMV and AHA and proposing this for all of WAVE? It's to improve the lives of our older adults. We have brand alignment. We have very strong public trust and a commitment to serve our DC area community. And, you all have a commitment to improving the lives of our older adults and helping them stay in their homes in our region. And that's really great, and we want to support that. We will provide, the free Roku and customer, the free WETA Plus, Roku, and customer service. We want to support the autonomy of our older adults and help them overcome their fears, and so that they can watch what they want, high quality shows. And there's a lot of non-high quality shows out there. We want to support stimulation and engagement. And this includes, local, national, international shows, movies, our community events. We would like to help you attract more members to your organizations, starting with ANVHA. And we also, by the way, one thing, especially if we add more villages, that I think might make sense is to include a promo link in our weekly e-newsletter to village events. I think if we have a bunch of villages, that might make a lot of sense, and we include that promotion that goes out to 200 and actually now over 300,000 people every week. So we'd be happy to support your events as well. And our broader goal, if our pilot with ANV and AHA is successful, and we believe it will be, we're confident and we're committed to working to make it successful. And then with WAVE is, we would like to see this replicated for other PBS stations in villages across the country. So I know we went through a lot quickly, but one of our goals was to leave time for questions and discussion. Wendy, is there anything that we didn't, or Seals, or anything that we didn't cover that we should, or should we just open this up to Q&A?
No, I think for all of us, we just want to talk it through. Here at ANV, when we sign someone up as a member, they get 2 additional benefits. They get the Washington Consumer Checkbook, and they get membership in our 55 plus program that's offered by our Department of Recreation. We see this as another benefit that we would offer to both our current members and new people signing up, a free Roku device that can introduce them, for some, to the world of streaming, with the support that they need to get it actually working in their homes. So, getting it connected to your TV. As much as Jeff said, this is easy, I can't do it on my own TV. It's up on the wall. I can't get back there. So, getting it set up, learning how to use it, knowing that there's going to be someone who can help us when we have problems. As much as Jeff has talked about WETA because that's his job, we also know that these Roku sticks bring on other programming into the home. I think Ava and DuPont Circle talked to us about how they use Canopy, which is a free movie service. And so they'll pick a movie and they'll run it in their offices and then have a movie discussion after it. So there are lots of opportunities to bring better TV programming into the home. And we intend to use our tech volunteers to help bring this about. So we're looking at A&V to have 1 or 2 tech volunteers who take the lead and own this program. And then we'll have other tech volunteers that are trained to go out into the community, do the installation, help people learn to use the remote controls, and be there to provide support, in addition to the support that Jeff is offering. So we're pretty excited by the program. I think Seal and I know Seal's off mute, so I'm going to stop talking in 2 seconds. But, we want to be the guinea pigs, the canaries in the mine shaft, see how it works, what's easy to do, what needs a little bit more tweaking. And then after we sort of launch the program, if it's successful, we want to make it available to all of the Wave villages. Seal?
I would echo what Wendy has said. I immediately saw this as a member benefit, and I was really looking at it as a benefit for existing members because we're always looking for new ways to enhance a member's experience and offer more and more, value to them. But especially since we've all identified technology and its importance to our members and the importance of staying in connection, and that doesn't just mean email and knowing how to Zoom and knowing how to text, but to keep them to keep our members engaged in other ways. And we already know. See, I already know just through, and you probably do as well in your own villages, that, I mean, by hearing conversations among members about a PBS show or this or that, I suspect a lot of our members are already watching PBS, but I think they've gotten stuck in this loop of the streaming world where they have cut the cord with cable. And we know a lot of our members have done that because our tech volunteers have done it they've shown them how to do it. And I think they are in that they've lost PBS, or they've lost, they think they have, they don't know how to get it back. And so that resonates with me. And it just, I think keeping our members feeling confident about technology is something that we can do as well as it's just such a natural, and we've all talked about it, technology, whatever it is, we have the ability to really help our members one-on-one, to stay on top of the world technologically.
Wow,
Jeff, we'll ask you.
This seems like a no-brainer. I'm in line. My hand is up. This is.
Thanks, Morgan. I have to admit, as much as it seems like a no-brainer, I am one of my seniors that he talks about, which is, how do you make this work? What's a Roku device? I was like the guinea pig for his slide deck of all the challenges that people have. So it's exciting for us. It's exciting for me personally, but also for us as village leaders to bring this to our members. So Lynn is asking the question, what's the schedule? So let me turn that over to Jeff and Brandon to talk about what the schedule would look like.
Yeah, so right now we're still in beta mode. As Wendy and Seal saw, we watch WETA Plus regularly. I watch it, actually just was watching this morning while I was doing my workout in my basement. But it is still in beta mode. And so we would see, we're planning on launching sort of gradually over the course of the next few months. And so I imagine this would be kind of springtime pilot with ANV and AHA. And then after that, I mean, we can move pretty quickly to roll out. So I don't know kind of how quickly you all move. We are signing letters of agreement with Arlington Neighborhood Village and At Home in Alexandria. These are, to be clear, these aren't big contracts. These are letters of agreement. There's no indemnification or anything like that. It's really just sort of, but it's good to do. It's good to have sort of a written understanding of, you know, how it's going to work and the role that we're each going to play. And we would, you know, ask to sign that with each of you. You know, we could potentially, after we iron that out with Wendy and Seal for villages that are interested, you know, we could potentially send that out in, you know, in a month or two. And then I guess, you know, roll out across villages. Once we have villages sign that, could be fairly quick in kind of the late spring, early summer. It also, you know, depends on sort of when you all want. Does that help?
Any other questions from folks? I know that Barbara Sullivan, who is on the Village Network on a national level, is already asking questions about what about the rest of the country. So that may be a separate conversation, Barbara, that you can have with Jeff and Brandon, that's not necessarily relevant to our audience here right now.
Just as there are book clubs, there are opportunities for continuing conversation, or clubs that are following All Creatures Great and Small, that are following, you know, the new season of this, or discussions of the recent food show, you know, and you know, there are ways that this can help so that people have a common shared experience that then they can go ahead and build upon. So
Layla, think of it this way. We can watch WETA, WETA signature dishes and then decide to have a dine around at
There
one of
you
those
go.
locations and test the food for ourselves.
There you go. Speaking as a parent who has passed on the PBS NewsHour to my Gen Z, who uses Passport to watch it in the shower in the morning because that's how she gets a NewsHour. So
Wow.
That is some good multitasking right there.
that's a bit complicated. So the Roku is just a much better way to do that. I admire what she does, but there we go.
One thing just to add is, you know, we'll be on other platforms too. So as you share the member benefit of the Roku, some people already have, you know, streaming platforms that they use regularly and that work. They have Rokus or a smart TV or an Apple TV or something else. In those cases, you know, we can just provide instructions and support in downloading WETA Plus and starting streaming on WETA Plus. So we'll provide those additional instructions too. We want to make it easy. I am impressed. I watch NewsHour regularly. I do not watch it while in the shower, I confess.
You know, we've got another person in the chat, Lynn from Georgetown Village, talking about they do monthly movie nights with discussions, and they know they'd add some WETA programs to those discussion groups. And I talked a little bit about Ava's use in DuPont Circle of watching movies and having discussions about them. So I think there are lots of opportunities here, not just to be watching TV, but also being connected with people and talking about what they're seeing on TV.
And we would love to support that. I mean, that's the type of thing, that's part of our commitment. That's part of our remit. Our mission is to support our community. And, you know, as you all were saying, you know, we have some really, for those who haven't checked out our local shows, we do have some really great local shows. I mean, you could do this obviously with Signature Dish and choosing local restaurants. So thank you. That was a great suggestion. And then, you know, we also have like a great show of If You Lived Here, which it's a real estate show. It's a house hunters show, but it's really about neighborhoods. And you learn about, I mean, I've learned every single episode, I learned something more about a DC neighborhood, even the DC area neighborhood, even though I've lived here for since 1997, 28 years. And, you know, you can imagine then go out and meet in the neighborhood or something. It was just a lot of great stuff there.
Can we maybe take the presentation off since we're chatting? Is that okay with everyone?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't want to put you on the spot, Jeff, but I think in one of our conversations, we talked about your willingness possibly of doing maybe a primer, a streaming primer, like all you need to know about for our members, not for our village leaders. But I think there are a lot of questions. Everybody's situation is different. Some people have smart TVs, some people don't. Obviously, we all know you've got to have be connected to the internet to do any of this. If they don't, I think most of our members have that, probably the same for most of your members of village. But I think everybody's questions will be different. And I think, Jeff, one way to get people comfortable is if you would be willing to answer questions, about this is my situation, so people can really see if they are a good candidate for it.
Yeah, I think, Seal, that's a really great point. We should do that. So we actually, after your suggestion, we agreed that you were absolutely right. We should absolutely do that. We need to sort of figure out the exact structure and how many of these, but I imagine that we would set up probably a few of them, and maybe if it's okay, invite people not from just one village, but from the wave set of villages.
Oh,
to come.
absolutely. We can't be doing this all the time. We just need to promote it well and just have a few of them, combine villages, and
then we would do it. We would probably, what we do is we now have the ability, and if you all want, we could actually do this at some future wave meeting. We can actually do a live demo. So I was told by a colleague how to get this little device. I can plug it into my computer, and it basically brings my Roku screen to my computer, believe it or not. So I'm literally using my Roku. I'm actually even using the actual remote. I'm actually literally using my Roku, but instead of my TV screen, it's on my computer screen. And so we can set that up, and we can literally walk folks through, here's how you find the shows you want. Here's how you create my list. Here's how you create a list of all the shows you most want to watch. And this is where it will be, so you can watch them anytime. Whenever you see a show, here's how you add it to your list. Here's how you find movies. In this new on WETA Plus, it's a good modern user experience. And of course, that means there's still challenges for someone who's not familiar with streaming. But you can go in and here's where the movies are, here's where the series are, here's where the drama is, here's where the history is. We can help people find the things that they want to find, add them to the list, keep them, and then obviously watch them, and then return. If you stop, show them where the continue watching row is, which is right at the top, as it turns out. So yes, I think that's a great idea, Seal, and we will make sure to do that. So yes, we will work with you all, and that is where I guess one thing that would probably be helpful to us in that regard is after the pilot, I guess what would be ideal from our perspective, I'm being a little selfish here, but I'm thinking about our workload. We're a nonprofit too, and we have limited resources, is if we could kind of have a fairly mass entree of a whole bunch of new villages. What will be the toughest for us is if we have, 2 villages come this week, and then 2 weeks later, another 2 villages, and 3 more, another week later. But if we could kind of line this up so that, I'm making up dates, June or something like that, we have, a whole lot of new villages join. Obviously, it's up to every village, but then we can, kind of plan for some of these broader outreach efforts and training efforts, and our staff will be ready as well with, for Q&A. I think something like that would be very helpful to us.
Right.
Is that sort of feasible or reasonable?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And there are lots of nodding heads. We all understand that. And, we can be efficient. So this is great. So it looks like we've got enthusiasm. As Seal and I go down this path with Jeff and Brandon, we will report back. We'll keep you posted on what the schedule is so that you can plan for your activities. And we'll let you know the structure that we set up within our villages to make it work, and what worked and what didn't work, and how our members responded. And know that Jeff and Brandon are going to have data on usage. I mean, that's the other thing that people will have to get over is, once you have a Roku device, someone knows whether you turn it on or not. Not us, we don't know, but the Roku people do. So, you know, there'll be a lot of data I think that we'll
Yeah.
be able to have access to that'll teach us what's going on and where the usage is.
I should just add one thing to this, and we talked about this a lot with Wendy and Seal, and that is that in part of our partnership and pilot with Roku, actually, um, you know, we don't care. We think it's great if your members want to watch Netflix or Hulu or anything else. That's all great. But part of our partnership is that the Roku has to be used, and part of our partnership is that they will watch WETA Plus, so they can if they watch WETA Plus 3 times and decide after that they don't want to watch WETA Plus and just want to watch Netflix. I mean, that's up to them, right? That's not our decision. But when someone's taking a Roku, again, they're not taking the Roku to set it on a shelf or sell it or whatever else. We are asking, and we'll have this will actually be part of the sign up process. They're taking it with the understanding commitment to watch WETA Plus, and then obviously anything else they want to, and obviously to actually use the Roku.
So I think I appreciate that, and I think we're coming to the end of our hour. I know we've lost a couple of people.
Lynn's got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
go ahead.
you. Thank you. It won't take long. So Jeff, you mentioned, I believe it was you who mentioned that as part of this partnership, you would also be able to publicize, events or things are open to the community. And I'm wondering how we can get involved with that as well, because we do offer programming. For example, we have our built plan conversations and some online programming that is open to the general community that we're happy to share. And so I'm wondering when that is possible and how we can be involved with that as well.
Sure. Yeah, I guess one thing I'm just realizing, in general, the events that we publicize are events that are non-exclusive. So that is a very good point. I want to be clear about our mission. Our mission is to serve all, right? So events that are exclusive are generally not events that we would play a role
I totally understand that.
in promoting. My sense is it doesn't, once a mass of villages is on, my expectation is it would work something like this. We would wait till we have a lot of villages, because having a link in our weekly part of our promo block of events and our weekly WTA highlights email doesn't make sense when it's just for a few people. But when we have a whole bunch of villages participating, then I guess here's my question back to you. I've looked at your community event calendar. I was sort of assuming that those were open events. Are most of those open or closed?
Well, again, it depends on the event, but people do need to register. Okay.
Registering is fine. The point is, though, can anyone register, or do they have to have?
Yes, anyone can register for our, the events that are on the community calendar, and we will mark something if it's for members only. But yeah, otherwise it is open to the community. We, as a village, we view ourselves as a community resource.
Right.
Right.
And
Okay.
And Jeff, as we go down this path, we can all think about how we would put things in different buckets. But I see this also as an opportunity to spread the word about villages. It's not about what's happening in Georgetown or Arlington, but the fact that there are villages across our region, and share information on that and use it as an outreach and marketing tool. So in that sense, it wouldn't be limited to members. It would be, educational and open to all.
Well, our e-highlights, it gets a lot. It is our single most popular email. I mean, it gets thousands of, tens or even more than 100,000 opens each week, thousands of clicks. And people, by the way, look through every line. So, in the highlights, and we promote our programs and things like that, which you would expect. But we already have sometimes an event section, and we're thinking about adding sort of a regular event section. And we are looking at other partnerships. And, I think I'm making this up again time-wise, but let's say, just say June, we do a broader launch. Then like after a bunch of people are on board in July or August or something like that, we would probably have a regular link that says, wave events, and people will click on those. I mean, you'll get a lot of clicks. And when people click on those, they would go to your event calendar. And obviously that would give you all real exposure, which is great. We want that too.
Wonderful, thank you.
Well, thank you very much to Wendy and Seal for bringing this to our attention. It sounds like a really good connection has been made already, and going to have a very interesting pilot project to sort of work out a few of the kinks with a very promising future. So thank you, Jeff and your associate. We really, really appreciate this. So thank you all for joining us. Please remember to look for to renew or join if you haven't. And please look for a survey from us to not only give us your feedback on this program, but to tell us again about your future interests. And I want to close by saying it has been my pleasure and deep honor to be the president for the past 5 years. This is a marvelous organization. I can't say often enough how much almost all of you would enjoy being more closely engaged in it. And I do want to say that I'm actually not going away. I will remain as the head of the WAVE grant, and we'll start developing some advocacy issues. So I will be very much involved and look forward to seeing WAVE continue to flourish. So thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your days. And please join us again for our future programming.